Reddit by Reddit recap. People who have met their online friends. What made you instantly regret it? When I was 19, I jumped on a flight to meet a friend I had known for about 4-5 months. We both went through family bereavements and were a shoulder to cry on for each other, via the phone or internet. And we just decided to meet for a few days in a country between us. Until then everything had been perfect. She was the coolest girl. Really smart. The kind of person you want to be around all the time. When we met things started great, but a day later she confessed, "You're not what I expected." What? 19-year-old and not very confident. This knocked me sideways. I don't know. Just, you seem different. I never hid who I was before we met. Was completely open, and it put a real sour taste on the rest of my time with her. Instead of chatting non-stop and watching Jackass on TV in the hotel at night, we went quiet and straight to sleep. Ate in silence. I put as much effort as I could into it, but I still never got to the bottom of how I was different. We went our separate ways. Text for a few days, then never spoke again. When I was 14, I had an online friend 2 states away who was 14. He and his mom took a trip to see me, and the first thing we did when we saw each other was run full speed at one another. Our heads bounced off each other and I chipped my tooth and broke his braces. I'm pretty sure his front tooth was also loose and had to go to the dentist to fix it, lol. How the F did either of you let that happen? We met in a lesbian group. Had the same local area. Was instant regret as soon as I got back online. Thought the meeting was pretty normal and they were a really cool person I'd want to be friends with, which is how I felt about them before meeting too. But then came back to see they posted a lot, about 10 paragraph long posts, about how every girl they meet is taken and how depressed and lonely they are. While we were out. Starting around moment I mentioned my girlfriend. Now I pay more attention to when people are on their phones during social outings. Never know what they could be doing. I met a friend on here and we planned to travel together. We rendezvoused at a city to start hitchhiking. I instantly regretted it because he seemed like he had no clue of what was happening, and that made everything a bit annoying. That feeling lasted 2 days. And now I miss him very much and hope we could see each other again soon. The fact the guy kept calling his exes crazy. He forgot I know several of his exes and they were still are the least craziest people I know. If a person has more than one crazy ex, there's a 95% chance they're the crazy one. It was supposed to be a date. She had her hand on another guy's leg at the bar. I did a Grandpa Simpson at the burlesque. I enjoyed this description of your quick escape. Do dating app people count? Because he told me he was a vampire within 10 minutes. I had to travel to my country's capital for a surgery. After the surgery I couldn't move for 3 days. But the first day when I got up from the hospital bed, I obviously celebrated and told my online friends. They asked what hospital I was in. Long story short, they lived close and came to visit me. But hid until thiefing. What do you regret? I regret meeting them in a wheelchair. Not having showered. Under heavy opioids. They were absolutely wonderful people. And I'll be seeing one of them in a few hours as she is visiting my hometown. I used to play Counter-Strike 1.6 with one of the funniest and most lively guests I've ever met. He was a linchpin for half a dozen other guys in a friendship group that he welcomed me into. They lived about 200 miles south of me in the south of England. For several years we talked and played games together. He would brighten my day. I've never loved a friend like I loved him. Before I met him I had no idea he was sick. Like, really sick. He had muscular dystrophy, for which there is no cure and is a progressively debilitating disease. His form started by paralyzing his legs and working its way up to his arms and eventually his lungs. It wasn't until a few days before I had arranged for my first ever trip down there that he told me about it. It didn't faze me in the slightest. It made me want to go see him even more. I only saw him in real life twice before he died about a year later. I regret that I couldn't go to his funeral. It was too far away and I couldn't make it. Dude was wearing like half a fursuit. I just turned around and texted that something came up and I couldn't make it. Not quite an instant regret. But there were two people I was meeting. Maisie and Maya. For the purpose of the story. We discussed meeting again. Planned to have sleepovers. Just generally have fun. The first day we met up went really well. We all had a good time. I thought it went brilliantly. Then a few weeks later I found out they were carrying out all the plans. Without me. They still have sleepovers to this day when Maya is back from uni and I'm just left out. I don't speak to either of them anymore. It hurt lol. We met over a Dead by Daylight game. He was really charming. Funny and nice. Then he fell in love with one girl of our gaming group and they started a long distance relationship. He even flew in to meet her in person. Turns out he is an abusive, narcissistic a-hole. Who constantly belittled my friend. He gaslighted her and loved to play psycho games with our group. We stopped playing with him after a few weeks. Because he was so toxic to our group. Sadly, my friend was in a bad place at that time and hadn't the heart to break up with him. Took her several months to finally do it. F you bowl. I actually worked with this lady at the time. She was good looking and very flirtatious. Most importantly, we both played World of Warcraft at its prime. She ended up inviting me to join her server and being a then horny 20-something, I, of course, joined up. We played for a time and had a good PvP group going her regulars. Of course she was still flirty with me in game and I was back. All in group chat. Either way, we had some great times together slaying players in PvP. Summer comes and it's a company BBQ. I find out she is bringing one of our PvP partners to the event. Cool. It was her husband. A cop. I've been virtually esting her in game in front of him for 3 months. The lady was crazy. We met through an app that was advertised as a meet friends app and not a dating app. Well, turns out, it was a dating app. However, she put in her bio that she was married with 2 kids. I put that I was in a long-term relationship and looking for friends. BTW. I'm a guy. She wasn't. So when we arranged a meetup, her husband and 2 kids were there as well as my girlfriend. Everything was going great. Hung out a few times and added each other on Facebook. Turns out, she was super into the whole breastfeeding in public thing. Like, I get it. You go girl. But she was super obsessed with it. 4 out of every 5 pics she posted to FB was her breast in her kid's mouth. She hot angry when you looked away when in public. Like, she wanted you to stare at her while she breastfed. Just got to the point that I was super uncomfortable with it and moved on. WTF. Met up with a friend I met in WoW. I fell down steps. Instead of helping or asking if I am okay, she laughed. Hard. Like, not breathing. On the floor. Gasping for air. Seal clapping hard. We've been friends for like 8 years ever since that and she still reminds me. Made a RuneScape friend and chatted on and off for several years. He ended up being nearish to my town and we decided to get some food. Things were going great until a black man and white woman came in and he whispered. Completely seriously. I hate interracial couples. We went to a convention and he drunkenly told me and my boyfriend that he wished we weren't together so he could sleep with me. It was very awkward. And he's lucky my boyfriend, now husband, is a patient man. When I realized they didn't want to just be friends. They wanted to be best friends. My friends and I met him playing League of Legends and turns out he only lived about an hour away. He insisted on being referred to by his in-game name when in person and made a big deal of it whenever someone called him by his real name. It was my uncle. Worst right swipe ever. It was my friend who befriended this girl. And she allowed us to come and stay with her when we traveled to the US. She was rude to me instantly and kept my friend away from me. I'd go upstairs and she'd find a reason for them to go downstairs. She had my friend share her bedroom and she'd lock the door for hours and so I'd just go off and do my own thing. We met her 2 odd friends and they both ignored me. When it was time for my friend and I to move on to another state, she insisted on coming with us. The lady we stayed with in another state took note and called this girl out on her strange behavior. She proceeded to lock herself in a room and demanded my friend stay in there with her. They were in there all day and eventually my friend came out and said to me that there's something wrong with this girl and she's actually scared. We had plans to stay with another online friend in another state and this girl demanded we cancel because she doesn't like or trust this other friend. We said no. This is our holiday and we've paid for flights. And she said then she will come with us but we can't meet up this other friend. We said no. She cried. We left. My friend blocked her on everything. My friend's mother called us not long after saying this girl contacted her crying, saying my friend is in danger and we abandoned her. And she's so concerned for my friend's safety. It was actually incredibly scary. My friend found out later from another girl, they all knew each other from a forum, that this girl had been telling everyone they were in love and had even slept together. I don't know how much of that is true but I've known my friend for 20 years now and she's never identified as anything but straight. She denied it 100%. This girl was just obsessed with her. And months later my friend heard this girl was telling everyone she was saving money to come to our country to find my friend. She never did. Thankfully. Other than the time spent with this girl. We had a great holiday and made some good friends. Best comment of the day. I met my ex-GF online when I was in college during Thanksgiving break and her mother helped buy me a plane ticket to see her. Since she lived on the other side of the US she was so excited that she almost cried and didn't believe it. We went out a few times with her friend or on our own to get to know one another or just stayed home. The last night, we stayed up to watch movies before her mother came to drive me to the airport. Before she woke, I finally made her a move to kiss her, which she really enjoyed, and before I could do more, her mother came and said she was ready. My regret is that I didn't do more intimate things with her because, as we met 2 more times, I was so paranoid of getting caught that we hardly did anything intimate, and she felt I didn't love her, so we broke up. My first girlfriend I ever loved told me I didn't love her. Man, it still hurts to this day, but it reminds me that I need to improve myself more before I should date again.